Netflix is kind of in hot water right now, believe it or not. Sure, we may still all have our Netflix accounts at the moment, but over the last few months, Netflix itself has been struggling quite severely. And more so from that, just pulling back a little bit and looking at the extra context around Netflix, and we can see that it's slowly being diminished. Now, you may feel like you disagree, because we only just watched Stranger Things Season 3 not too long ago, right? Well, that was already 3 months ago. How much of Netflix have you actually watched since then? Well, according to the data of Netflix themselves, not too much. Over the last couple of quarter periods for this year, Netflix has been failing to achieve all sorts of growth expectations, as well as have been suffering in an epidemic of subscriber loss, either through a lack of sustained interest or that jump in pricing recently. For me personally, in relation to Netflix, I have a pretty faint connection to Netflix. I still have an account, but I find it very situational. It's probably not worth it for how much I actually watch, but that's possibly the exact same scenario to you as well. Oftentimes, I find myself preferring to watch YouTube now that I have it available like an app on the Nintendo Switch, only really using Netflix for its super massive shows that I'm interested in, which I can literally just count on one hand. The only other examples I'd actually use Netflix is for that random session when friends are over and eating pizza together. Not to mention, Netflix's other caveat is in its actual content. With us entering a streaming era of television, and have done so for the last few years, other companies are finally starting to pick up the slack, and now Netflix has a million new pieces of competition. No longer is it just Amazon Prime and Crunchyroll for any anime series you're interested in. Now we've got big names like Disney Plus making massive marks, as well as Apple TV Plus, HBO Max, NBC Universal's Peacock, and BritBox. Some more prevalent than others. Who the hell thought of BritBox for a name? But with all this competition, the library of content Netflix has at their disposal is slowly being ripped away piece by piece, and you can see this in a million examples, leading to Netflix having many shows only for a short amount of time, and many of their genres being fairly small libraries at any one time. I mean, how common has it been that you've been scrolling through Netflix or using the actual search tag to find something you actually want to watch or some kind of franchise that's connected to it, only to find similar suggestions, even the film you're looking for in the direct suggestions only giving you things that are similar to it rather than the actual content you want. It happens pretty much every time I look for something myself on Netflix, personally. And so with all of these rival shark companies eating up Netflix's old monopoly on the streaming service, Netflix has begun boosting more attention into Netflix originals. It makes sense, it's the only thing they can truly keep for themselves, and it's pretty permanent for the site. And while that's clearly somewhat a step in the right direction, this does come with issues of its own, and that is quality. Netflix isn't really known for having the greatest when it comes to original quality. There's a lot of Netflix originals, there's not a lot of good ones. Everything else is just kinda nah. The shows Netflix is most iconic for are either Stranger Things or those big name third parties like Friends, Rick and Morty, The Office, and the ones that they swallowed like Black Mirror, or they've already come and gone finishing their runtime. But with many of these series that they do still have, they either have a ticking time limit before they're taken away by someone else, or they're coming to an end after so many seasons have passed. So with all of these pieces coming together at once, Netflix has diminishing cards to actually play the game with. And with this new season of autumn brewing, one of Netflix's new original productions is family-friendly animation drama, Carmen Sandiego. Now, it's not quite Netflix's next big masterpiece of a show, but it does have a few big names taking a role in the production. Probably the most relevant is Finn Wolfhard, obviously known from Stranger Things. And hey, the voice actress of Tigress from Kung Fu Panda is playing another character called Tigress here too. Now, Carmen Sandiego has just hit its second season ready to be binged on the site. And the fact that it got a second season suggests it's not doing too badly. And it is one of the few original series I actually choose to hop onto. But at the same time, when looking at Netflix as a whole, I can't help but feel that Netflix are just way over their heads at this point. Sure, I did enjoy the show, and this season certainly wasn't a bad one, but this show certainly isn't going to be the surprise pool that drags everyone in like Stranger Things does. Not that it was ever really trying to. It may be family friendly, but it's not exactly made for everyone to enjoy. The style and dialogue a lot of the time is a little on the childish side, or even slightly cringy.
I do fancy your fancy driving, driver. You ready to take it to the next level?
But on the other hand, I gotta give the show props for its unique setting and how it explores all sorts of diverse cultures and characters in a non-ham-fisted manner. And the actual storytelling and directions that some of the characters went through in this second season were really fun to see. Even if I can't shake the fact that the voice actor for Shadow-san, yes, that is actually his name, is also the voice actor for Hanzo in Overwatch, and practically has the same backstory and character traits as well.
He is my brother.
And you didn't tell me. Why?
My personal favourite character had a much smaller role in this second season, which was a bit of a shame, but then again, my second favourite character was basically in the centre of the entire season this time. So you win some, you lose some. And just seeing the general progression of the world around Carmen Sandiego and her enemies and how they change over time was just a simple yet effective thing that was fun to see across 10 episodes. Plus, I really enjoy the animation style of the series. Less of a fan of yet another case of controversy from animators being exploited on the team, with Carmen Sandiego partially being a project that advocated underpaying interns and refusing them the full job when asking for a more stable wage, as well as overextending the low-paid internship period in certain sectors of its production, but the point remains that I find the show to be very nice in quality. But it's not gonna hold up the sight, is it? And at the same time, Netflix is dropping BoJack Horseman once that last season drops, and plenty of third-party stuff too. Sword Art Online, Bridget Jones's Baby, Scream 4, Despicable Me 3, they might not be what you and me are after, but they're somewhat big names to lose. And slowly it's turning Netflix to become more outdated with the season, having less of what we want being scattered across services, and with little bodaciously large originals to be the backbone of Netflix. Now, I've been putting a lot of weight on Carmen Sandiego because mostly it just released and I actually watched this one, but Netflix does have a few other new shows to cover its bases. Most notably, El Camino, the new Breaking Bad movie, Big Mouth Season 3, The Laundromat with Meryl Streep, Gary Oldman and Antonio Banderas, and Rhythm and Hop with Cardi B. And even with some of these, I'm less sure of their prowess. El Camino seems to be the one that has the most weight going for it, with it clearly riling up fans eager to see more of the Breaking Bad world, plus it's actually got Aaron Paul as Jesse Pinkman in the spotlight again. But even then, it's just one movie. Minimal watch time compared to the rest of Netflix's prior library, and certainly not what the CEO is demanding. Especially compared to the likes of Disney Plus with an endless supply of Pixar films, princess films, Marvel, Star Wars, and everything in between. And just looking at those two side by side, I really don't see the weight in Netflix's favour. Many of the things that could tip the scales are way too far in the future. Black Mirror literally just dropped a season not too long ago, and that was all built up to just be 3 episodes, with celebrities hashed in your face. A significant low for the series as a whole. So enter Rick and Morty, Netflix's last reverse Uno card. They're not a Netflix original, simply a big show that gets broadcasted on Netflix's service, but it is undeniably one of their biggest shows, with hype and audience coming from all corners of the globe. And much to my surprise, Season 4 is not too far away, with a teaser clip being released at San Diego Comic-Con a couple months back, and the new release period being just next month, November. With another 10 episodes coming at us, and a continuation of what Season 3 left us with, as well as some new guests such as Taika Waititi, Netflix has at least one thing going for it for this last quarter of the year, but at the same time, will the 3 weeks Rick and Morty is prevalent for really be enough to keep Netflix going? While each episode will surely have plenty of topics to talk about once they're done, be it through bodacious Easter eggs and connections to philosophical thinking points for certain characters or story progression, and I'm sure I'll join the bandwagon and make some videos about it too, still, the way I see it, this upcoming period for Netflix will be pretty alright, but especially brief. Much like with Stranger Things 3, once Rick and Morty has passed, what is there to hold us over next? The Witcher sometime in 2019? Or that next big mystery hit from Black Mirror whenever that comes out? With the general changing climate of television through streaming services, I feel Netflix's moments of victory will become progressively more sparse and less impactful as time progresses further. No longer will Netflix be standing as the beast above the rest, but the one hanging on by a series of thinly laced threads lingering just enough to keep our accounts active, until even those big projects eventually hit their end. Rick and Morty may supposedly have 20 seasons of content to go, but I don't think I can say the same for many of Netflix's other gold mines. And that's not even talking about the issues of Netflix's binging vendetta. With Disney's return to form with slow weekly uploads of new shows, marketing-wise, Disney Plus is going to have a major advantage over Netflix with the longevity of its new shows being talked about, rather than the 3 weeks maximum runtime that a full Netflix series can get. Not to mention certain series being stomped on in order to fit into Netflix's binging quota. Whether that's an entire anime series being omitted from the site until the entire series has already aired on TV months and months later because of their weekly schedule, or through that BoJack Horseman spin-off that was completely assassinated through mismanagement despite it being well received. You know, there's a reason Stranger Things 4 got a teaser trailer sent out just last week, just a few months after season 4 ended. News of the deal meant news needed to be shouted out to keep Netflix relevant in these dire times. Because season 4 is certainly not coming out anytime soon. It's just there as an almost desperate plea to be relevant still, and banking it off of the news of a deal being made with the Duffer Brothers. Adding all of these alongside Netflix's other issues with societal representation and the controversies often attached to those, and the mistreatment of new anime shows, I'm sure there's plenty of other issues as well, add them all together and things are seriously looking bad for Netflix. And I personally don't see Netflix keeping up with its debts during this next era of new shows. While Netflix has contributed leaps and bounds for small production teams to create all sorts of unique indie forms of storytelling, these alone seem far too brittle and weak against Netflix's growing disadvantages. And the sharks of streaming services swiftly swimming for the last of Netflix's greatest unoriginal hits. While I may have loved Carmen Sandiego, and I'll probably enjoy BoJack Horseman as I catch up, and Rick and Morty will probably blow all our minds once again, the only things really keeping me in check with Netflix after that is simply stuff that's just far too far away for me to care right now. The way I see it, Netflix is a sinking ship, and with the changing tides of our current TV watching antics, soon will be the time of yet another seismic shift in what becomes the big name norm of film and television media. And hopefully we, the consumers, just won't be screwed over and inconvenienced just like the olden days. I mean, do you still have a Netflix account? And how often do you use it? Are you waiting for something coming up soon? Or are all your big aspirations months, if not years away from now? Do you believe Netflix can actually turn this around? Or have you already signed up for Disney Plus and cancelled your subscription for Netflix? Or, I don't know, maybe you've gone for HBO Max or any other streaming services? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear them. I don't think I use Netflix enough to warrant the price, and I feel many others around me are thinking the same thing. Ah well, I guess we'll just see over the next couple of months. As for now, my name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. Well, that was certainly different, wasn't it? It's kind of like an extra bigger context video, kind of like a news thing almost. I was just thinking of doing a topic that wasn't just, hey, let's talk about this film next. I wanted to do something a little bit more bigger and stepped back. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe I'll work on that format and maybe make it a series. Who knows? Let me know. I'd love to get some feedback.